Hello, BookTube. I've got some mail for you today on a cool, blustery day. Starting with the only periodical that's arrived so far today. That is my beloved Vineyard Gazette, the big broadsheet newspaper off the coast of Massachusetts, for the island of Martha's Vineyard. There is, look at that. Isn't that great? That cover photo, that is just amazing. I love the original photography in this. It's all original photography in the Vineyard Gazette. And it's always nice when the one periodical that you get in the mail features your own work. It's just great. There I am for the Vineyard bookshelf there, The Sacred Depths of Nature. Or So Good Enough. It's always fun to just read through the whole of the Vineyard Gazette. We are slowly approaching, we are getting closer and closer to the real kickoff of tourist season. The summer. Martha's Vineyard is a summer resort, so a summer destination town for vacationers, so the population multiplies enormously in the summer, and that's always a lot of fun. It feels that way even though I'm not involved in that migration anymore. Don't go to the vineyard, doubt I'll ever set foot on the vineyard in person again. And even so, once you've experienced that, it gets in your blood. But I have 3 packages to go through, but also 3 books that aren't in packages. And in this particular case, it's not because I opened them off camera. It's because I found them. I found them in little free libraries while I was walking the Little Bean. And they're all well-known books. They're all BookTube darlings. I found a beautiful trade paperback edition of Cixin Liu's The Three-Body Problem that has unremovable cover advertisements all over it. But even so, it's a terrible shame to mess up such elegant cover artwork. But I haven't read this since it came out in English. When did this arrive in English? 2014. Yeah, so that's 10 years. So that's a long time. And I found it. I thought, why not? I don't need any more books, but even so. And then these next 2 I found together and in a different little free library, and I couldn't pass them up because I haven't read these either since they first arrived. Is this around the same time, now that I think about it? Did these appear, this first one appear around 2014? Let's take a look. Very difficult to obediently turn pages when you don't have a sense of touch. 2007. I found Name of the Wind in a big trade paperback, just perfect condition, and also Wise Man's Fear. Very heavy, hefty thing. I just found them together in one of these little free libraries. So it was a very heavy science fiction fantasy type excursion. Really, the highlights of the excursion were simply company with my little bean, who doesn't know anything about books and doesn't care anything about them. But she is perfectly willing to just gently, without commentary, stop if I come to a stop. No charging head, no pulling on, no nothing like that so many of my other dogs have done. We are very much out for a stroll together. So if I come to a stop, she comes to a stop, and also vice versa. If she came to a stop often today, because it's very gusty. There's gusts of wind here and there that are unpredictable. They aren't all coming from the same direction, and that tends to affront her. If it starts to play with her whiskers, she will often just stop and say, "What is going on here?" And I don't hurry her along when that happens. So anyway, let's look at the actual mail that we have instead of rereads. What is this first one? Okay, very good. Very good. Oh my. I tell you, Basic Books is having a season like nobody's business. I already commented on this to them. But Basic Books here in the U.S., their fall and winter season of releases is incredible. It's just incredible. And by incredible, I mean heavily populated with Steve books. This one definitely counts. This is by Peter Saris, and it is called Justinian, Emperor, Soldier, Saint. Big, fat biography of the Emperor Justinian. Dear Byzantine reader. In the 6th century CE, that's AD 6th century, that's AD standing for Anno Domini, which is Latin for in the year of our Lord, and the Lord is the risen Savior, Jesus Christ. So if you use the word AD, that means you're a Christofascist. Just remember that. So we're all switching to CE, which means Common Era, which is determined by who? Anyway, the Eastern Roman Emperor Justinian presided over nearly 4 decades of remarkable change in an era of geopolitical threats, climate change, and plague. And in the case of Justinian, none of that is anachronistic boilerplate. All of that is actually true. From his capital of Constantinople, he directed armies to reconquer territories that had been lost to Roman control in the 5th century, while also taking on neighboring superpower of Persia. Many histories of Justinian's reign focus on these military exploits rather than on the unprecedented persecution of religious and sexual minorities that earned him the epithet Demon King. Okay, all right. He did have that epithet among many others. That is not the reason that earned him, but it doesn't matter because it did definitely happen. He was a tyrant. He wasn't. I mean, he was a Byzantine emperor in both the uppercase B and the lowercase b. You had to prostrate yourself to approach his presence. You had to crawl along the floor like a bug. It was as far away from, even the pretext of a Roman emperor in the West being only the first citizen among all citizens, but still ordinary, still a person that you could slap on the back and meet in the marketplace. It was as far away from that as you could get. And that definitely applied to his social programs as well. In this book, the author argues that the emperor's achievements were more fundamental and diverse than commonly supposed. Justinian oversaw the formalization of Roman law, creating codes that survived into the Middle Ages and, to this day, form the basis of legal systems across much of Europe. Through his energetic reform program and his energetic self-glorification, Justinian redefined what it meant to rule, established a model of active statecraft to which future Byzantine and Holy Roman emperors, medieval kings, and even Muslim caliphs and Ottoman sultans would aspire. He's right there at the hinge point. The ripples outward from what he did and how he acted would go in both directions. They would go west and east. Above all, in his recasting of Roman society as, quote, an Orthodox republic, one in which his vision of the true Christian faith would prevail, Justinian laid the foundations for the inquisitions and persecutions that characterized the world of medieval Christendom. Rather lets the church off the hook, doesn't it? To see what the author says about that. That's interesting. Providing a panoramic history of the emperor's life and reign, and illuminating the true priorities of Justinian's programs for imperial renewal, the book also examines the vast impersonal forces that threatened to shake his empire to its very foundations, including a dramatic period of climate change and, most devastating of all, bubonic plague, which by some estimates wiped out half the population of Constantinople. This is a radical reassessment of the emperor's legacy and achievement. Even as Justinian sought to recapture Rome's past greatness, he paved the way for what would follow. That is totally true. And a wonderful observation that historians have been making about this figure for over a century. That what he did was radically ideologically out of contrast with how he described what he was doing. Very, very good. Can't wait to get to this. Well, when am I going to get to this? This is October. Okay, so I can't wait to get to it, but I am nevertheless going to wait to get to it. I'm going to wait a good long time because I am up to my eyeballs with other books. With books that are coming out sooner. But you Roman history fans out there, you ancient history fans, you've got a big biography of Justinian coming out. First one in quite some time. Great. Fantastic. And if it's a little rabble-rousing, great. Fantastic. We'll see what the author has to do about it. I'm on fairly solid ground. As I was with yesterday's basic book, I am on fairly solid ground. In this case, I mean, those of you who are new to the channel, I write books for my own amusement. I don't usually submit them to publishers. It's just a lot of fun. If you haven't tried writing a book, it is a lot of fun to do. Don't believe whining authors, okay? It's actually a lot of fun to do. And naturally, I was thinking about that yesterday. In addition to reading Homer's Iliad every year, and in addition to having studied it for, well, a long time, I also wrote a trilogy of novels set in the Homeric world. The first of which was called Troy War, and which was a novelization of the Trojan War. And the same thing is true here with Justinian, only maybe even more so. Because usually when I write, I mean, my novels aren't good. That's the main reason that I don't talk about them much. But usually I write them, I plan them ahead of time, I write them, and then I'm done with them. And it's a lot of fun to do. It gets a sort of itch scratched. Except for one. One work of fiction of mine I've never been able to finish it. I've never been able to let it go. I keep going back to it. It's called Belisarius Out in the Dark Running. And it's the story of one of the generals that Justinian used to reclaim lost Roman territory, the general Belisarius, but it's very much also a story of Justinian and his wife Theodora, and also Justinian's wife. So I'm fairly well placed to know what the author is going to do with this subject. We shall see. All right, what is this next one? Let's just go right on with this next one here. Oh, okay. This is a pretty thing, isn't it? Okay, I don't have a sheet for it, just an invoice. This is by Richard King, and this is an ocean bestiary, meeting marine life from abalone to orca to zooplankton. An ocean bestiary. Okay. This is the author of King Ahab's Rolling Sea? Oh, how interesting. Okay, this has a cover bird on the back from Helen Scales. That's great. And it's got wonderful end papers there. Very smart choice. Why is that a very smart choice? Can any of you savvy animal people tell me why that particular animal is a smart choice? And this thing actually does. It just goes through the alphabet, letter by letter. New Zealand sea lion. What is another letter here? The Louisiana shrimp. So what? We'll just read the dust jacket like we were in a bookstore. For millennia, we have taken to the waves. And yet, for humans, the ocean remains our planet's most inaccessible region, the place about which we know the least. From A to Z, abalone to zooplankton, and through both text and original illustrations, this book celebrates our ongoing quest to know the sea and its creatures. Focusing on individual species or groups of animals, the author embarks on a global tour of ocean wildlife. Okay, great. Fantastic. All right, well, a fairly simple structure. Would be fairly easy to review. I'll have to get in touch with, who is this, Oxford? Chicago. I'll have to get in touch with the rep at Chicago and see what the hurdles are to me reprinting a piece of artwork when I review the book. I'd like to include a piece of artwork other than what's on the cover. And then we have a box. Fairly heavy thing. Can't imagine what this is. It doesn't fit with any of the timetables of any of the finished copies that I'm expecting. So it's probably something that I don't know. What have we got here? Let's see. Paperwork here? Just an invoice. That's really gross. Big thick thing here. What is this? Oh my. 800 pages long. Okay, this is Chris Wickham. This is called The Donkey and the Boat, Reinterpreting the Mediterranean Economy, 950 to 1180. Bless Oxford University Press. They've got the mother of all endowments behind them so they can come out with books like this that have literally no audience other than me. That is a lovely cover design. What is this thing? Why does Chris Wickham ring a bell? Have you perhaps written something that I have written about? Yes, you in 2016 wrote a book called Medieval Europe, which I read and wrote about, and I think even talked about. Okay, well, we don't have a sheet other than an invoice, so we'll just read the dust jacket here. Oh no, there's nothing on the dust jacket. Okay, that doesn't help. What have we got? Any kind of preliminary description here. You go right into your acknowledgments, and then the table of contents. Okay, all right. Wow. Okay. Well, there's nothing. Okay, there's something on the back here. Let's just we'll just read the back here. The author offers a new account of the Mediterranean economy in the 10th to 12th century based on a completely new look at the sources, documentary and archaeological. Our knowledge of the Mediterranean economy is mostly based on synthesis, which are between 50 and 100 years old. They are based on outdated assumptions and restricted data sets and were written before there was any usable archaeology. The author contends that they have to be properly rethought. No usable Mediterranean archaeology earlier than 150 years ago? Okay. This is the first book ever to give a fully detailed comparative account of the regions of the Mediterranean in this period in their internal economies and in their relationships with each other. Focuses on Egypt, Tunisia, Sicily, the Byzantine Empire, Islamic Spain and Portugal, north central Italy, and gives the first comprehensive account of the changing economies of each. Okay, fairly heady material. I will eat this up, and I'm assuming, since this is a finished copy from Oxford that's arriving to me without any falderall whatsoever, I'm assuming that this is out already. Oxford tends to get me stuff a little late, so this goes one way or another. If it's not out already, it'll be out in June. So this goes on the list tonight, especially since this is going to take me some time to do. I'm not going to be able to just breeze through this the way I will with the Ocean Bestiary. I will breeze right through that. But this thing's going to require me to hunker down, maybe even haul out my Braudel. Although this author, it sounds like, is going to say that the Mediterranean and its peoples is outdated. It sounds like that's what this book is taking square aim at. I'm perfectly okay with that. If you've got new things to tell me, especially if you've got a fairly good narrative voice to tell them to me in. But anyway, okay, so I didn't know that this would happen. But it turns out that the Little Free Library picks are all works of fiction. And all of the books I got in the mail are all works of nonfiction. We have The Donkey and the Boat. We have Ocean Bestiary, A to Z Ocean Life. We have Justinian. What's it called again? Emperor, Soldier, Saint. But we also have Patrick Rothfuss, the only 2 volumes of the King Killer Chronicles that he ever wrote, and The Three-Body Problem. So fiction and nonfiction in a neat little combo there. Very interesting. Okay, well, I kind of sort of thought, when I made that discovery, I kind of sort of thought that I would reread Name of the Wind. Rothfuss' book, his breakout fantasy. I kind of thought I would reread that. But it and that huge book on the 10th century Mediterranean economy might be a bit much for one night. I'll give it a try. We'll see. Maybe I'll get them all done. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now. That is the mail, and I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.